Full disclosure, I got walked into a 20/80 split. And when you're 24 years old and you find out that someone makes $200,000 and they'll offer you 20% of it, basic math is that's better than the mall.
Welcome back to the Full Out Real Estate Agent. Today we're speaking with Lynsey Foster. So she runs a really great team. Her and her husband, their average sale price is 670,000. She works the Hamilton area just outside of Toronto. She does about 37 million in sales is what she did in 2025 with 80 transactions. She works with Remax. She has 3 licensed agents, 2 admin on her team, and she's been licensed for 14 years. Lynsey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
So, Lynsey, we're going to get into a few things. We're going to be talking a little bit about a few programs that you nailed down. One's your VIP program, another one's some circle prospecting, and then the other one, you've worked out some really solid admin hacks as well. So, we're going to be diving into that, and we're going to be diving into some of the, we'll say, areas that have been successful for you to be able to generate referral business. But why don't we start with a little bit about your background and what led you to get into real estate?
Absolutely. So, um, I am turning 37 this year. And so I lived in Southern Ontario through the 90s and 2000s in a public school setting and was funneled directly to university, like so many people in our age group were. And I proudly have 98% of a political science degree from McMaster University. There were never like resources, financial or emotional or at home, that would have succeeded me through law school. And yet that's the funnel that I got put into. And so when it was all said and done, after working through university, usually 40 hours a week, I found myself in the most interesting job in the world. I applied to a Kijiji ad and I did international teacher placement. So I worked in an office in Burlington, which was far above any job I'd ever had. And I was helping Canadian teachers get visas, jobs, and housing, specifically in the UK, and it required incredible organization and in international travel and trade shows, which I found out that I loved. And when I doubled the second quarter number of people going over and didn't get a thank you note or a bonus, I thought, if you're going to work this hard and be this systems related, then you should really just do it for yourself. Simultaneously, I was leaving that job to go and tutor 3 children of a real estate agent. And so I was in the household in my early 20s of a very high earning real estate professional. And I got to see how her lifestyle unfolded and how she organized herself. And I thought, I have all of the tools to do this for myself. So those things combined, along with a mother who is a consummate salesperson. From the first 20 years of my life, she worked at Royal Mattress, which is a Canadian classic. She was their top sales agent for 2 decades. So when I was looking and trying to figure out what my adult career would be, she said, you need to sell something and you know nothing about boats or cars, but you've always lived in a house. And so I suggest you start there. And thus began my career.
Amazing. Well, you know what? That's the one really great thing about real estate is it will reward you directly proportionate to the amount of value you give out. And um, so let's go to the beginning. So you get your license, and let's go through the first 6 months. So how did you get business? What did you do to get business? And then how was that for you emotionally going through the first 6 months as well?
I can tell you're sitting down, but I'll ask the viewership to do the same. So when I first got my license, I would say that my brokerage was probably in the 300 to 400 bodies range. And one of the things they were doing for younger agents who were new to the business with no real sales history was administrative positions. So I got hired off to a gentleman who worked by himself. And I was placed in an administrative role with a commission split that was violently predatory. And for the first 6 months, this gentleman really enjoyed his summer. And I turned over about $120,000 worth of commission, trial by fire. And then I had to respectfully step away because I realized that the commission split I was offered for this administrative role had turned into a full real estate job. And this gentleman hadn't gotten in his car for the entire 4-month summer.
Yeah, no, that's so listen, so you ended up, you got a lot of real world experience going through that period, and then you ended up from that point saying, "Okay, I'm gonna transition," so you went on your own at that point, is that right?
Yeah, it was just another example of inequity. So, full disclosure, I got walked into a 20/80 split. And when you're 24 years old and you find out that someone makes $200,000 and they'll offer you 20% of it, the basic math is that's better than the mall. And it didn't account for the time that it would take or even like the legality that I was putting myself in because I really didn't know what I was doing. So, when I left that space, I had no day to day skills. I could fill in a contract that was basically acceptable, but by the fall of my first licensed year, I was at ship without a net or a rod. I there was nothing to catch because I didn't know where to start. I spent about 3 months just complaining and helping elementary school friends look at houses that they never bought, and then I wound up, on a real team that functioned in a way that a real team should. Um, and that launched the next 5 to 7 years of my career, in terms of learning and stewardship of what a real estate team should be like.
That's good. So can you this is, like, really helpful because there's a lot of agents out there that we'll say they'll go and work for a brokerage or work for we'll call like you have 5 agents that pull together, 5 individuals and call themselves a team, and then they go and work there, but there's no sort of, unison and there's a lot of unknown out there in the we'll say in the marketplace. So what were some of the tangible things that you once you got onto we'll call it the real team that you did that you got on, what were some of the tangible things that you saw different there and some of the benefits?
Well, for starters, I wasn't brought on as administration, let alone unsalaried administration. They had salaried administration. So immediately off the bat, you can tell that this is functioning in the way that a real business should, and that there's at least the capacity and the bodies around, or they're making enough money to afford someone to do these real administrative roles. So as soon as I walked into this new office, the first thing that struck me was if you're giving up a chunk of your pay, at least it's going to something that's going to benefit you. And it's a physical thing that you can see, touch, and make a phone call to. That was a huge difference. I also market jump. So I live in Hamilton. We are merely one bridge away from Burlington, but that changes your average sale price by almost 40% up in an upward direction. It almost changes the commission rates in a lot of cases. And the types and styles of homes are incredibly different. So I managed to find myself in a place where I was going to be exposed to a higher caliber of real estate than I would be where I lived. Similarly, I was joining a team that didn't have anybody that wanted to do the 19-minute jaunt over the bridge. And so I knew I was in a position as a smart woman who really wanted to start a business, I could see the hole that I was filling and what those opportunities could bring for me.
That's good. So within the team to look for opportunities of maybe areas that some people aren't willing to do and to step into those and take ownership of those. Sounds like you found a really good opportunity on the team, which then where did that lead to? Did that lead to a better spot for you eventually?
I think I found a good opportunity on the team, but I was prepared to make myself a perfect match because I was so dedicated to succeeding. So I was working on what was predominantly an all female team, which didn't matter to me at the get go, but it built some confidence and it showed me how to carry myself in business. I mean, consider I'm now 23, 24 years old. My life experience is a really good job at Shoppers Drug Mart. I mean, I was there for 15 years, but this is not contract negotiation. It's not, potential conversations with men who are twice your age. So there was a real learning curve in being in this space full of women, um, watching how they carry themselves and how they run their business. And because I was so dedicated to being a part of that, I made myself a match. Um, and as the time wore on and the team changed and people came and went, both in terms of my team members and administration, full disclosure, Mark, by the time it trickled down to 2016, 2017, I was the only one left. One of the reasons I was the only one left is because I had committed myself to being so involved in the systems and the day-to-day life and what the programming would be that I was effectively sharing this business after 5 years because I'd put myself in the middle of it so hard. I call myself 2 hands and a smile, and as long as you're ready to accept what I'm willing to offer, I'll be there with bells on.
Yeah. Very cool. So, okay, so you've taken a lot and then you launched into your own, and then for once you made that transition, what were the main, we'll say, areas that you did to be able to generate business as you started doing it more on your own?
So when I started my own portion of this business, my husband had already joined. So I was in real estate for 5 or 6 years without him. And he got his license after a host of circumstances that we can chat about if you like. And so when I started the business, I was working alongside my partner. And so already we have 48 hours in a day, and team building wasn't our immediate mindset. We were more just interested in finding out what overhead costs looked like. We'd never run this as a true business before. We'd been really consistent buyers agents. And as part of our taking over the team, we wound up with some things that you wouldn't necessarily make as part of your decision making process. We had an office that we were obligated to. We had a 3-day a week administrative position that we were obligated to. We also had a 1-year-old and a baby on the way, and a couple of mortgages that we were obligated to. So when we took over the business, trial by fire, we had more bills than most people would set themselves up for in their first 6 months of business ownership, and because my husband was a few years behind me, we were so lucky. It didn't feel lucky at the time, but by the grace of God, we got stuck in 2 very different divisions. All of the families who I had helped previously were calling me to level up or downsize. I still live in the postal code where I grew up, so I get a ton of estate sales and the trickle down from the folks who I know in my periphery sphere. My husband, on the other hand, is really tall and really smart and has a great background in community or a customer service, but in a multicultural community, if you will. He's come from the golf industry. And so he can speak to people that are in a completely different realm. So he immediately started with flip investors, multi unit investors. He was buying full size apartment buildings by the second year he had his license confidently because those were the types of people he could speak to. So we ran our business under the motto, "We'll drive for money." And as long as we had access to the data and time to learn about what we were doing, uh, we were able to help people. Me mostly in the residential sphere, though.
Right on. Okay, well, let's talk about these recent programs that you nailed down. So why don't we start with the circle prospecting initiative that you've launched? Can you elaborate on what that is and we'll say some of the benefits? Because as an agent, you're always wondering what are other agents doing and what's been successful. And so I know you just recently went through this. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, for context, when we started this business, I come at everything with incredible enthusiasm. There's never a lack of ideas. My husband is the son of an accountant. And so his main goal is to ensure that nobody gets bankrupted and that everything is where it should be in terms of our charts and ledgers, if you will. So, when we are looking at how to expand our business, especially when we talk about marketing, cost efficient is always top of mind because we are a very small team, because we do not have an over $1 million average price point, because our commission is likely below some of our neighboring communities, we're always watching our dollars. So for me, I don't own a bus bench. I don't think I ever will. We don't do billboard signage. What I did realize was my for sale sign is a billboard every single time it goes in the lawn. And if I'm lucky, I get to do it 50 times a year. And I couldn't afford 50 bus benches throughout the city. They're $250 a pop. So to have a sign on the lawn started this conversation about how can we better leverage this. And through some coaching and through some of our peers, we realized we were talking about circle marketing. It always had a name and that it always had some basic premises. And then I turned it into a multi step process whereby I never need to mass market. If there are 50 people who are forced to drive past your for sale sign every day, that is your market. And if it takes you 3 days or 30 days to infiltrate that market, you've already paid to put the sign on the lawn. So Would you like me to tell the people how to circle market?
That would be wonderful. Keep
Amazing.
going.
Step number one, you got to let them know that it's coming. A lot of us are doing everything when we are getting ready to list the house. And I think that we think it goes unnoticed. If you are on a basic residential street and you show up with a staging vehicle and three people and a photographer with a drone, people notice. And you can really take advantage of that from a place of stewardship. We go around and let 50 people know that their neighbor's house is coming for sale. We let them know how many beds and baths and parking spaces it has. And we're telling them because they love where they live, and we hope they know someone who wants to live near them. Let me tell you what happens on step one. You never get asked to leave because you didn't ask them for anything. They're all really excited to learn about what their neighbor's house looks like and that it's coming for sale. You've also ripped the band aid off your seller. They don't have to go around and tell all their neighbors or get weird looks when the sign goes in. And you've mitigated that potential guy named Gary on the corner who's screaming about the drone, right? You got to him before the photographer brought the drone up. So step one is just little coming soon, and it creates the buzz that I think gets the ball rolling. The other thing I want to mention is from a place of cost efficiency. Whenever we talk about this, my peers always say like the marketing costs, the marketing time. Absolutely not. You need to start ordering things that are blank. Our door knocker is blank. There's only 50 of them to do. It doesn't take more than 10 minutes to write down the property address and the beds and baths. And now I can order these 10,000 at a time. They're sitting in the office. And when you have a listing, you can go and crank them out. Not waiting for printers, not worrying about spelling errors, not having to do graphic design every time you have a listing makes like step one the easiest thing you can do. And as a team lead, it gives me an opportunity to give my buyer's agents something to do on a Tuesday, right? You got an extra hour. You want to go and meet the neighbors. We've got 50 to 300 coming soon knockers, depending on your circumstances. So that's step one. I live in a market where open houses are the norm. And for our listing calendar, we expect our houses to be open Saturday and Sunday, the week that they're listed. And in terms of circle marketing, that allows you to provide an open space for those neighbors you spoke to or the friends or colleagues that they have to come in and meet you. In my opinion, in good weather, the best circle marketing has a gold starred open house, which has my agent showing up an hour early to remind the neighbors that they're there and invite them over. But what we're effectively doing is you've now made two direct touches through your circle prospecting, and they're still driving past your sign every time they come and go. So if you talk about 50 touches to build mind share or what it takes to take over a small spot in your brain, you've now had at least one verbal conversation or seen me on your doorbell. You're driving past us every day on your sign. With any luck, you'll come into the open house because you want to do a sniff test on the neighbors so you can tell your cubicle partner if it's worth coming to see it, right?
That's
And
right.
then comes your waiting period. The neighbors now know that you exist. They know that this house exists. They know that you're not going to ask them for anything. Stewardship still. And then you're going to get your sold sign. And this is where things really take a spin for the wild. Now you've got something to brag about. And when it comes to this portion of circle marketing, I think it's really important that you are data focused. I think a lot of our peers are really happy to slap a badge on that says I sold this many houses last month or I was number one in this way. When we distribute our circle marketing at the end, we want to tell you based on your neighborhood how much more quickly we sold that house. Usually 30% or more. It's worth bragging about. We want to present your neighborhood list to sales ratio. So we've already buttered up these neighbors by telling them that we exist and that we're nice people and that we're excited to showcase this home. But now we're going to hit them with engineer quality information that says you knew that we were nice and that our cars were clean and that we didn't leave our open house signs in the middle of the sidewalk. But now you know that we statistically have beat everybody else who sold a house in this neighborhood in the last year. And I have found that that letter, which is just in an envelope, it's red, black, and white. It's signed by pen at the bottom. People will keep those in their drawer for up to 18 months. And I know this because when I go to the listing appointments, they have them on the table. And based on the property address on the top, I can guess how long they've been holding on to this letter. The last piece that brings this full circle is that not everybody is going to answer their door and not everyone is going to want to talk to you. And so as a team, we have an investment in telelisting, and we are hardly a triple dialer society here, but if you're going to go and knock on 50 doors, then we're going to see how many of those people are accessible by phone, and that's another way to fill another 60 minutes of your week. The coolest thing is it freaking works, man. I have 5 years of back data to show that if you do this consistently, it is making up 20% of my business. And the coolest part about it is that once you do it twice, it kind of does itself. You're going to the same doors over and over again, as long as you're keeping this block radius. And so, whereby I could have spent $250 a month on that bus bench that they drive past every day, I'd rather have a listing that I can harness in that way because it gets you in more communities. And just to be clear, this is where it came from. I really, really wanted to farm, and where we live, that is not an affordable option. It would be like banging your head against a wall. There are too many agents. The communities are too vast, and our city's too quick to drive across. I mean, you're in Barrie, so neighborhood to neighborhood, there's no reason I wouldn't jump 6 neighborhoods. It's only 5 minutes on the highway. So, when we realized that farming was not time efficient or cost efficient, we realized we need to farm every listing, and it's been really cool. It's also a really interesting way to, like, guide your energy to where you want to work. If I have a listing in a neighborhood that I'm not excited about or that is too far away or that, I know is gonna take too long to sell, you don't have to circle market as hard. And then you find yourself in a place where you know people know who you are and they're gonna walk past other things that belong to you, and you get to triple it if you want to. It's completely based on vibes.
Right on. So this, just to recap, so these are the main 4 steps here. So first, when you take on a listing, you know it's coming soon, so you have a door hanger and you actually go by, knock on 50 doors surrounding the property and let them know the property is coming up, and you go over high level details. First step, step 1. Step 2, the week of launching the property, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to do open houses. Your agent's going to get there early and they're going to actually go by those same 50 homes, let them know, remind them about the open house. Step 3, you're going to send some envelopes to the 50 homes around with list to sale ratio, any other neighborhood related data points that show you're the authority in the area. And then you're going to go on and pull their number if they're on the not on the call, no, do not call list, and you're going to reach out to them, say those same 50 homes or more, and let them know that there's a listing on in their street and a little bit about the details. Does that summarize it?
Totally, and hear me out. No one's gonna sue you for doing any of those things. No one's gonna hate you for doing any of them. It's from straight stewardship, and in your worst case scenario, you got your steps in. You got your steps in. You got to see some new front doors that you wouldn't have been exposed to if you just parked in the driveway and got back in your car. And I think there's a lot of agents who deny the fact that there's always 10 minutes to fill in your day, and each of these things can be pared down into 10-minute projects. Nothing here takes 3 hours.
Well, and this gives you, I mean, it goes back to the essence of being successful as an agent is you need to have more conversations. And so this gives them a reason to be able to go out and do it. And what I like about this as well is that there's clear steps and it's thoughtful in regards to the process when you go about it, which to me, I think that's one of the biggest issues with agents is they're kind of waking up and they're kind of rolling through the day and they don't really have a way to be able to have conversations in a in a streamlined way, right? Whereas this, when you have a listing, it's like, this is what I do every time. Here's my process that I follow, and it's intentional, and it forces you to have the conversations, but it gives you a reason to do it as well, which I think it works. And you've been doing this now for a couple of years as well, and you said 20% of your business is coming just from doing this one, we'll say process that you're following in a consistent fashion. Is that right?
Absolutely. And consistency is the right word. And it's something that I struggle with. We have a very busy life. And if I'm not excited about something, doing it over and over again sounds like a punishment. And so paring it down into 4 bite-sized steps. Nothing costs more than $20, nothing takes more than 20 minutes. You can't talk yourself out of it, and I think that's the kind of systems people need to focus on building. It doesn't need to be more complex than that, it needs to be more consistent than you've been.
Yeah, so smart. Okay, so that's one. The second was this VIP program. So can you elaborate a little bit more about this?
Yeah, for sure. So Scott's my husband, we worked together for 3 years with very little semblance of, any type of client care. Our client care comes from our customer service, our empathy, the Rolodex we're able to keep at any given time. But our client care wasn't necessarily focused in spoiling people. And what we found was that it was affecting our referral rate, not because people didn't think we were great, just because they didn't like have enough to talk about. And so naturally, we are not allowed to advertise that we have like referral payments. This is illegal where we're trading in Ontario. And so the first thing you think is, well, I'll just call everyone and tell them I'll give them $1,000 if they send me a friend. You're not allowed to do that. So this requires not creativity from a malicious position, but creativity because you can't be friends with 1,000 people. Anybody who thinks they're going to make 1,000 people feel full over the course of a year is either really second guessing themselves or is open to shallow relationships that aren't going to get you that referral that you're looking for anyways. I cannot be disingenuous, and for, in that vein, we don't have a newsletter. I cannot find a way to get Lindsay Foster into a newsletter where I feel good about it. As a business owner, I'm losing 12 to 24 touches a year by not being able to wrap my head around this. So some might call that a loss. I decided there are better ways to target the people that we really want to target. And so two main things happened. The first is we bought our forever house. And our forever house has a decent main floor space with basically a party room attached. And it has an in-ground pool. And so we started hosting a summer pool party at our house under the guise of client care. And it is after only 3 summers, it's a really great way to see who is coming, who is bringing somebody new, and how they are enjoying themselves in this space. And if somebody tells their friend at work that they're going to a pool party at their realtor's house, now they're forced to be talking about their realtor. That's a situation that wouldn't have happened otherwise. And from a cost efficiency standpoint, it's at my house. I mean, the tangible costs were the food and the beverage and the bomboniere that I sent them with, all of which I was in control of. So the pool party went so well, we thought, let's do the orchard. We're going to do an apple picking event. And we found an apple orchard that was happy to work with us. They'll close down so that we're not there with the public. We bring a popcorn maker, we bring a photographer. And by the time the second one was done, 2 years in a row, we were like, wow, we can actually do this. Like we can function through this and people are coming and they're liking it.
Mm,
So when it's all rounded out, there are 3 events a year and people can come and visit, but it's open to everybody who's in our database. So if you look at the general mindset of database being segmented into A's, B's, C's, for example, which is one way to do it, these parties are for effectively A's and B's, which could reach 3 to 500 people in terms of invitation, which is generous and hits your database, but it's not personalized or pared down. And if you're not reaching out to each of those people individually with an invitation, then you're missing that touch point altogether. And so this is where foster care comes in. Play on our last name. I haven't had any complaints yet, but we crowdsourced it for some time and decided it was cute enough. And my the root of my issue was I wanted to make people feel special. I'd never want to miss a holiday. And I'd go to Costco and I'd buy 100 wreaths at $30 a piece, and I'd load them in the back of the Suburban with a card, and I would frisbee them at people's porches and blast out of there. And sometimes I didn't even have the balls to call them back after I dropped the wreath. I was merely doing it for the sake of saying that I did 100 Christmas pop buys. So then I started to get more mindful about it. And as I pared the list down, I realized if you hadn't referred me business in a year, or you hadn't moved into a house in a year, there wasn't a whole hell of a lot we had in common. So I'll see you at the pool or the orchard. And in making that decision, I was able to make a very straightforward list of who deserves a present. Can you believe that it was that hard to hash that out? But it really is
Yeah,
because you sit there
makes
weighing
sense.
the options. I have peers that give out 800 things that are worth $2. Does that work? I'm not sure. It's not what I'm going for. So, we created a program where for 365 days, whether you have referred us somebody or you've purchased a home, that you are receiving your party invitations and a gift 3 times a year at minimum. And in your gift, we're putting CMA reports on your house so that you know what it's worth. They're all really mindful and thought out. And what we found is that once we drop a present, we range between 25 to 40 people in our program at any given time. And as my business grows, I expect that to accelerate quickly. Um, but within a week of dropping those gifts off, I'll have 2 to 3 more social media followers. I typically get a minimum of 1 listing appointment off of that round of drops. To put it in perspective, in February, we do a 2025 roundup. So you get a booklet of everything that happened in your basic area over the course of 2025. Vague. The hope is that you recognize the street names and now you get to know what the sold price was of that house. Then we also gave you like an ice scraper mitt that was branded. And there was a coupon to go and get your car washed at Petro Canada because the market might be salty, but we're not. Everyone got hot chocolate and 2 mugs. There was a lady in the house, we had super cozy lady socks. And all of this stuff is on paper pretty trivial. Um, from a cost perspective, not exceeding $50 per parcel, and is such a thoughtful way to touch the people who you are still top of mind with. And I think that's what a lot of agents are missing. Um, you can call your cousin every week. If your cousin doesn't have any new friends and doesn't want to move, this phone call is trivial. The people who are going to build your referral source are the people who have experienced your greatness in recent history. And if you've just moved into your home and you love it so much, and 6 months down the line, I've remembered you, this is really helping get us into that ideally 80th percentile on referral business.
Yeah. That's really good. I mean, being able to look at the last 12 months, if you bought or sold or referred, then you're gonna continue doing that. But if not, it's like you're gonna be putting your resources in the areas that you believe are gonna get a return for you. Otherwise, they're still gonna be coming to the events, but you're not gonna be putting that extra time. So I would imagine over time, you're gonna get very high, you're focusing on a smaller percentage to get a overarching higher return on the spend, which makes it more likely you're gonna continue doing it, which then, is gonna create more referrals, and then that's gonna create more business and revenue, so that's the flywheel. So it's smart, how you've broken that down because it's something the reality is as you do more sales, it becomes harder to stay in touch with everybody. And so I think segmenting it down like you've done, I think is smart, and obviously it's producing results for you as well.
Well, and at my best, I am deep, I am intense, and I wanna talk about interesting things. And so keeping 600 people on the line is something that for me and my personality is incredibly difficult. I don't have the attention span to help somebody that I knew 3 years ago for a 2-week period feel like they're still in my heart. And I would hate to attempt to do that and come off as disingenuous. That would almost be worse. And so by nature of being realtors, there's some things that are automatically built in. We've got all of our social media channels where we can remind people every day that we are at work with zippered pants on. Um, if they load us up with like, there's always a home show somewhere or an Easter egg hunt to do. I mean, the opportunities are endless. The question is, who are these opportunities for? There's a concept of stewardship and serving your immediate community, and you do that to fill your personal cup in the hopes of filling your business board, but you can't just go and stand out in front of the elementary school, for example, and expect people to come and talk to you. And I think the best proponents of our business are the people who've experienced it.
Yeah, that's really good. So you've used a few times in our conversation the word stewardship, and steward. And this is something this word is like highly resonates and is something that I look at our businesses and stewardship is to protect, is to grow and make better. And so, Stuart, can you elaborate a little bit
Oh
more
my
on that?
gosh,
I
yes.
don't really hear other agents use the word, but I like for me, like I'm massive on that. Can you elaborate a little bit on your perspective on the word stewardship and stewarding?
Yeah, I'll start by saying I think contextually it may come off as mildly religious, and which we are not in any way, shape, or form. What we are is like ethical and empathetic. And so my husband and I always laugh. We would put a stranger before our paycheck, because that's how we sleep at night. And if you can put yourself in a position where you wake up every day and go to work knowing that your job is to make somebody's life better, easier, or softer. Your job is to help somebody meet their end goal, understand their end goal, find their end goal. These are all forms of potential stewardship, but you are only a steward for these people if you are doing it from a place where you truly, truly care. Um, if you have a real estate license and you haven't talked somebody out of a house in the last 12 months, you need to go and read a book because that's not true stewardship. And whether it's for the community or for our buyers or for our sellers, just putting their needs not above our own. My house is not unkept. My children are being picked up from school, but we're making obligations to these people. And so we need to do our very best, and we need to do it from a place where the ultimate goal is not to fill our bank accounts or our deals boards, it's to fill their lives with what they need.
Yeah.
And that's why they'll
Yeah.
call you again. If you can't come to it from that position, you can't expect people to use you twice.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting. I find okay, so here's the example. Kobe Bryant, it's really unfortunate what happened to him, but he was in an interview and the reporter asked him like, "How are you with your fans? You guys you didn't win and letting your fans down. Like, how do you cope with that?" And he looked at the reporter in almost disgust and he said, "They're their expectations of me are will never come anywhere close to my own expectations of myself." And so this is really powerful. I find that the most successful agents have this internal temperature gauge that is turned so high that any sort of negative experience irks them at a very deep level, and a bad review comes through or even the thought of somebody not having a good experience, like it irks them. Like we currently have like over 2,500 5-star Google reviews, and I still, if something comes up and it was a bad review, like it irks me. It's like we have to fix the problem. It's like this wasn't even our client, this was another. It's like we have to fix the problem. And it's interesting, it comes from back to this word stewardship. It's like to protect. And to me, it's your reputation is above. You had said it in different words, but you had said it like the reputation comes before the paycheck, and making sure that they have a great experience because they know 200 people around them. And I think if you have coming from this mindset, it forces you to become the best that you can be, to become a pro and to treat your business as a true professional. So that means, no, spelling errors, not doing, taking courses to get better and constantly improve rather than just like, checking it in and just going through the motions because people, they feel that right at the end of the day. So it's a really good conversation. And I think that that's an ongoing thing. You have to be very aware that complacency can set in. And unless you keep that reminding yourself of that, it's complacency can set in and your reputation can decline very quickly, which then is very tough to come back, if you start going down that pathway.
Well, and there's an interesting lens. The first is personally, being in sales and having no cap on your income. I think a lot of people are biting off more than they can chew. And I mentioned that I married the son of an accountant, and we have worked really hard and starved sometimes to put ourselves in a financial position where we are allowed to feel that way. I'm allowed to put someone else's feelings before my family's paycheck because we don't live paycheck to paycheck. And I think some of our peers need to take a step back and look at what their expenses are, because you have to put yourself in a position to be able to feel that way in the first place. And then the second lens to think of there is, you don't want to be a steward to everybody. You could meet someone tomorrow that isn't deserving of that energy of yours. And this is where the chicken egg is, because the more you come from a place of stewardship, the more you will attract the people that make you want to act that way. There's always someone that'll throw us off the tracks where you actually want to tell them how you feel and you don't want to work as hard because they're vile. But if you are doing the right things, then you'll be attracting less of those people. You'll fill your books with the people that make you want to work that way, and then you can be
Yeah.
fulfilled.
Yeah, that's really good. All right, so great conversation there. So let's talk about this the last of your 3 of the administrative hacks that you've picked up. Okay, let maybe you could share some of those, because I know there's a lot of agents out there that they'd like to know how to be more productive. So what are some things that you've recently, implemented in your business?
Okay. Well, we operate out of a storefront office, which was a huge financial decision for us, a huge logistical decision for us, and was based around the hope that we would find some like minded people who want to work with us that don't want to be in my house. And so having a storefront office has created a daily schedule that you wouldn't have otherwise. Right. I got a key to a door somewhere else that I really want to get to, because if I can be here, maybe I'll meet somebody. And I'm not suggesting that that's the route that everybody takes, but what it did for me was built in a daily schedule. And I like that even when you don't have somewhere to be, you have somewhere to be. And I mentioned at the beginning of this call that I had a late life ADHD diagnosis, which might be the same as like a million other people. And I know in ladies, it's really becoming more prevalent. But I think when you are self employed in a business where marketing is a gray area, um, when the business is coming can be a gray area. Our entire economy is a gray area. The marketplace isn't doing what it should do on the chart that they're giving you. Um, Having a not neurotypical brain can make it harder to do 72 things in a row in a day. There's some really structured folks who came from corporate jobs and got their real estate license and know what to do in every 15-minute interval. And that is not how my brain operates. So having a place to be that has all the right things in the right places means that I can't mess it up. And the example of the circle marketing or the VIP program, I pare everything down to the kind of system I could write on a line sheet of paper. For example, every housewarming gift is made up of the same 7 base items plus 3, and the 3 fall under 3 categories. If you want to not fail, you need to pare these things down to the easiest version of themselves and create little room for error. And find people that wanna do the same. I'm so lucky I work with my husband. He knows the 7 things that go in the bag because 'cause they're posted on the wall, and he knows to put them in because there's a reason that they're there. So, not deviating from that plan and finding people that are on board with it.
100%. I think getting into a rhythm with your schedule is what the best do. I mean, if you actually track the amount of time that the best golfers in the world take their club out of the bag to actually hitting the ball, like the pre-swing and all the warm up and everything, it's within a second. So it's the consistency with the approach is what creates mastery over time. And, I 100% simplifying down to its essence is what keeps it consistent, and it actually what makes it a lot better over time. You can keep on improving on a
And we have
simple
trouble
system.
doing that because Mark, it's rooted in ego, right? You'd like to think it's bigger than it is. It is the
Yeah,
housewarming gift, for example. And if you
yeah,
can remove your ego from this concept and accept that it's better to be done than exceptionally done, because it's exceptional if it's done, then you can create this consistency. And in terms of these housewarming gifts, nothing exorbitant, nothing that makes anybody cry. We are typically receiving a buyer referral within 60 days of dropping a housewarming gift. I would say
What are the
70%.
what are the essence of it, and what is in your housewarming gift? What are the
Oh my
main
gosh, it's
main
like,
elements?
well, and just to put this in perspective, this, I don't know if this is a consummate shopper thing or if this is a cost efficiency thing, but um, when I bring you your sold sign, I'm also going to bring you packing tape that I've labeled. I'm going to bring you a Sharpie that I had printed that say moving markers with Foster Living logos on them. And I'm going to bring you like a big zippered bag to put your duvet in. Trivial. $12 worth of stuff. I buy them 400 pieces at a time. They're sitting on a shelf. Okay. The consistency in this is that it's coming in a craft paper bag. So your housewarming gift is not flashy. It's not in a $300 basket. I do it myself back here at the office. You're getting a couple of mugs, a couple of hats, a candle, some matches, whatever our current swag is. And then we make sure you can go eat somewhere and you can buy something for your house and you can fix something. Those are our three objectives. And there was a train of thought early in my career where they were telling you not to give people gift cards. It had no lasting moment. And as soon as it was gone, they'd forget about you. But the truth is, if you've done a good job buying their house, you know exactly what they need. And that gift card is what's going to get them there. And then they're going to have a candle on their mantle. And because they've bought a house, they're going to see you with any luck 6 times over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Simple.
And those 6 times, those are, I guess, just regular pop buys that you're popping by, or are you just calling them those 6 times that you're dropping by? What are the, because some agents like, "Well, what do I say? What do I do? I gotta, 6
Well, you bought
times."
a house, right? So you just got your housewarming gift. Then you're gonna
Mhm.
get foster cared 3 times, and what you're saying is, "Hope you love your house. Here's the February report of last year's sales. Hope you love your house. Here's the June update of the first 2 quarters. Hope you loved your house. Here's some Halloween chocolate and an October review of the end of summer." What you're not talking, don't forward people. People don't wanna forward you. They have Instagram. They wanna know what their house is worth and that you're still in the business. And then they'd like something pretty or something to play with their kids or something to drink. You don't need to talk to them every day. You need to be present when they need you and you need to be available. And 6 times is easy because you're going by 3, you're inviting them to 2 more things. We've just hit 6 right away.
Yeah. No, and I think the key here is that you said it earlier, like, just make sure you do it. And at the end of the day, if it's 10%, less of being perfect, just making sure you do it in a consistent fashion. It's the reminder that you're in the business, you appreciate them, and it doesn't need to be super costly. It just needs to be thoughtful.
Better not, because if it's costly, it won't be consistent. $50, Mark. You can fill a bag for $50.
Yeah. No, that's good. There reminds me of a really good story in Unreasonable Hospitality. So Will Guerrera wrote this book. He was the number one restaurateur in the world. It was a yellow book. And highly recommend it. And one of the stories is he overheard a couple of his customers that were sitting in his restaurant saying, "Man, this trip to New York has been phenomenal. We've eaten everything except for the local street meat. We haven't done that yet." So he overheard this. He goes out to the street, buys a street dog, brings it in. He has his chef do cut it up and serve it on a fancy plate, a little mustard or whatever. Serves it. It just blew their minds. It costs like a few bucks, but this idea of like collecting dots and then connecting dots and being thoughtful as you're going along, like, that's why I like your gift, for example, because it's like, oh, this is so thoughtful. I didn't even think of this, right? And so, the duvet cover, for example, right? The bag to colder duvet. It's like most people don't even think of that, but if you can be thoughtful and collect them, I think that's what they remember is the memorable moments in a highly emotional state when they're moving is what creates referrals down the road that, Lynsey actually, it wasn't just kind of a one off. It was like Lynsey thought about me and cares about me. And I think that's what is impactful at the end of the day. So,
And on the flip side, let's use your hot dog analogy, for example. Had he not brought them those hot dogs, they would have gone out and found their own. They would have had their own story about the hot dogs, and it might have been better than their story about their Michelin star restaurant. If I didn't provide you with the Sharpie to mark your boxes, no one's going to die. but maybe you'll have to go and buy Sharpies and it'll be taken over by some completely other social concept. Now you get to remember that you didn't have to find the marker because Lynsey gave you one. I'm now becoming synonymous with stress free, with forward thinking, with 15 steps ahead. And don't you want to tell your friends to call that girl? It's a marker. It's a marker.
No, it's a really good conversation, and I think there are a lot of key nuggets there that golden nuggets that the agents can take out of. So, from a timing standpoint, we're going to need to wrap up. I have three last questions, and then we're going to go from there. First question is, what's your favorite book?
Okay. Oh my gosh, James Clear, Habits, obviously. We read that as a husband and wife together, page by page, and it changed fundamentally just how we looked at ourselves and valued ourselves in a positive way. I think that that book you could probably read every year, Atomic Habits, and you could always pull something different out of it. And in my esteemed opinion, if you have read it, you should read it again, not from a self deprecating place, but from a place of self esteem. You can read that book and think, what do I need to improve on? You can also read that book and think, wow, I'm doing that daily. What a gift that I was able to put myself in that position. And so I find Atomic Habits always fills my cup.
Right on. Second question, three words that best describe you.
I'm energetic, I'm organized, and I'm passionate.
Perfect. Final question, what final advice do you have for the real estate agents listening today?
We we're not better than anybody else. We all put our pants on one leg at a time. We chose a career that's rooted in effectively a gamble. And we don't have the consistency that some of our neighbors and friends and family members do. Um, but that certainly doesn't put us on any different playing field. And if we approach our job like that every day, we will catch so many more bees with that honey.
Right on. Lynsey, thank you so much for being an open book and sharing some really great insight about your approach. What's the best way for the real estate agents out there listening if they have something in the Hamilton or surrounding area? Maybe they have a buyer referral or a seller referral that they want to send you business, or maybe they want to come work with you in your market. What's the best way they can reach out and connect?
Find me at our email, Lindsay at Foster Living, two Y's, no I, no D, no A. Tell everyone my mom had too much epidural. Otherwise, come see us on Ottawa Street in Hamilton. The joke is if the door's locked, we're actually at work.
Yeah, very good. Lynsey, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. You're great.
And thank you everyone for listening today. If you like the show, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel and share it with any other agents that you think will benefit from it. Thanks for tuning in to the Full Out Real Estate Agent. I love and believe in you guys. Keep dreaming, investing big.